guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, it's Michelle, Deception Bytes, and I am back. It is Sunday, June 16th, and it is Father's Day. I hope you guys that are fathers had a wonderful day. I know every single one of us had a father, so it affects every single one of us. We may not have known who our father was, but we all had a father. So anyway, I just got back from a lovely meal with my mother and my stepfather, and at a local Italian eatery that is absolutely fabulous. Everything is home done, and the guy that owns it is a real Italian, and it's just a great place. Had a wonderful time, and now I'm with you guys. So what we're going to do, there's no Q posts again today. I know Q has been dark for, it seems like, a very long time, but there is plenty of Q related news, so let's get into that. All right. Now, this is the first item, and Sammy's around here somewhere, so I'm just warning you in advance that you might see a tail go by the camera, or who knows, any number of things could happen with Sammy around. So let's look at this. This from BBC, breaking news. Massive power cut hits all of Argentina and Uruguay, supplier says, affecting about 48 million people. I assume that M stands for million. Either that or it's 48 people whose names start with M. I'm assuming it's million. 48 million people, that's a lot. And now I understand there are some other countries affected as well by this massive power outage. I have been trying to get additional information on it, and I don't have it at this time, but that is a huge amount of people to be in the dark. And let's just kind of, set our watches for 9 months from now and see the huge boom in births that will occur. Anyway, that always happens. Gee, I don't know why. Okay, so there's that. And also this power outage in Argentina, Uruguay, and in parts of Chile, Bolivia, and southern Brazil. So it's all of Argentina, Uruguay, parts of Chile, Bolivia, and southern Brazil. That is huge. Now, I have no idea what could affect that many countries. I would assume that they don't all have the same, power company. I don't know, but I would doubt that. And so I can't really imagine what has happened, but it can't be good. That is a lot of people in the dark, a lot. So that's something that we'll have to kind of keep our ears to the ground on and see what is going on with that. Doesn't sound good. All right, and here again, massive power outage in Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. WTF is going on. The apocalypse is coming. Fellows from Latam, someone know something? No, apparently nobody did when I was looking anyway. Now, I've left this for a few hours to go and have supper with my family, but so maybe there is some more information out there now. If there is, I will try to keep up on that and bring it to you, if not later tonight, then tomorrow. But yeah, very odd, very, very odd. And this from Candace Owens, if I was president, now, you know that Donald Trump is wanting to outlaw the burning of the U.S. flag. Now, I think that that should be a given. I think that in any country, burning the flag should be, a big no-no, should be punishable. And but anyway, President Trump is wanting to bring in that legislation that would make it illegal to burn the U.S. flag. And Candace Owens has added her voice to that and said, if I were president, the punishment for burning the U.S. flag would be the renunciation of citizenship. No jail time, no fine, simply 1 year to liquidate your assets and get the hell out of our country. In exchange, we'd extend citizenship to a hardworking, legal immigrant. Yeah, like me, please. Anyway, yeah, that is a great idea, because if you're if you hate the country enough to burn the flag, then yeah, give that person a year to get their stuff together and get out of the country, because they obviously don't like it. So, hey, bye-bye. That's what I would do too. And maybe that sounds hard-hearted, but gosh, if you hate a country enough to burn the flag, what else are you capable of doing? Or what else might you do to harm the country? I don't know, but sounds like a good plan to me. And let's look at this. I can't actually remember what this, oh yes it is. Yes, I can now. Look at this. Ottawa picks 11 communities for pilot immigration project. And I swear that my community is one of them, because all of a sudden, I feel like I'm in the minority here. Very, very strange, because this has always been a rural area, always been dairy farms around here, and, you know, very, very conservative, you know, values. A lot of people go to church here, which is unusual in Canada, because Canada is actually considered a heathen nation now, believe it or not. We are a far, far, far cry from what Canada was when I was born here. Yeah, so they've picked 11 communities for pilot immigration project. And by the way, too, if you think that you are the only one that have people arriving from the Bongo region in Africa, you know, we have to speak in code here sometimes because of censorship. But if you think, you know, if the United States thinks that they're the only ones, they're not, because they are arriving in Ottawa. So why? I have no idea. I have no idea who thinks it's a good idea to import people from a nation that is suffering the worst outbreak of snowbola ever, and the UN has called it catastrophic. People are saying that it's uncontrollable at this point. It's beyond the tipping point. So we know that there's not good things ahead in terms of that. Pretty hard to stop the horse, or to get the horse once the barn, or it's too late to lock the barn once the horse is out. You know, my mother used to always say that to me, and I'd go, what? But it's true. And so anyway, this is happening here. The federal government has picked 11 communities from across Canada to kick off a new pilot program aimed at attracting immigrants to rural and northern communities. The goal of the program is to bring newcomers to regions confronting severe labor shortages due to youth exodus, declining birth rate, and aging population. And in this area, it would probably be aging population, although we are not short. There's no labor shortage here in this community anyway. Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussein is making a formal announcement today in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. The equation is quite simple. Attracting and retaining newcomers with needed skills equals a recipe for success for Canada's rural and northern communities. No, it doesn't, he said in a new series. We have tested a similar immigration pilot in Atlantic Canada, and it has already shown tremendous results for both newcomers and Canadians. Now, you know, that's the thing, because it's fine to attract immigrants, but it would be preferable for both United States and Canada to attract immigrants who actually want to contribute to the success of the nation. They will weave themselves into the fabric, into the social fabric. They will involve themselves in the community. They will help the community. They will volunteer in the communities. They will pay their taxes, you know, and they will not try to subvert the leadership of the country that they are host in. That seems reasonable. But when you attract people whose only intent is to take over and do not want to assimilate, don't want to learn the language, don't want to weave themselves into the social fabric, want nothing to do with the social fabric, then it's a huge issue. And I'm sure, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, but there you go. Now, I'm not going to go on with this, but here I'm just seeing if I notice any of these places. Well, yes, I mean, I know where all these places are. Yeah, so my community is not listed there, but it's definitely one of them. Okay, so, and I did want to make sure that you know that you're not the only people that are dealing with, bongo people. Yeah, I'm not talking about people that play the bongos. Hey, they're all welcome. I love the bongos. Come on, if you play the bongos, come on. But, no. All right, let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay, and let's go on. Shall we? We shall. This is very, very, very interesting, I think, personally. Disabling, now, hang on here, where did I go? There I am. Okay, disabling part of the brain with magnets can weaken faith in God and change attitudes to immigrants, study finds. Isn't that interesting? So using magnets in certain areas of the brain can cause differing effects. One, they can weaken your faith in God, and another, they can change your attitude towards immigrants. Now, why might they want to do that? Well, re-education, I think we all know what that means, and I think we all can see that we're headed down that path very quickly unless the Titanic gets turned around. The iceberg is imminent. Because, I can see that happening with people that are, seemingly against immigration, or maybe they think you're a religious fanatic or you're too far alt-right, whatever. Then they can use these magnets and re-educate you. So helmets, these have already been approved by the FDA to treat depression. They're now available in Arizona. Gee, what could go wrong? How do we know that they're treating depression? I'm sure they are right now, but how long will it be before they think, well, if you're a religious fanatic, we can treat that. If you're resistant to new ideas, we can treat that. Re-education. And the company is called Brainsway. Brainsway is an Israeli company with international operations that is engaged in the development of the medical device that uses H-coil for deep transcranial magnetic stimulation as a non-invasive treatment for depression. The company was founded in 2003 and has offices in the U.S. and Jerusalem, Israel. So, okay, well, that sounds great because, I'm one person that I've suffered with depression on and off throughout my life, as have many others, and especially others that have been through traumatic events. They do tend to suffer from depression, and, it would be wonderful, instead of having to take pills or anything unnatural, if they could stimulate those areas in your brain and cause you to have a sunnier outlook, cause people that are suicidal to, have a sunnier outlook. That would be wonderful. But what I'm saying is, if they've already proven that these magnets can weaken your faith in God and change your attitudes to immigrants, well, how long do you think it'll be before they use it for that, for re-education purposes? Really? What could go wrong? It always starts out with the best of intentions. Treating depression, what a noble cause. Wonderful. Don't have to take pills. You can be stimulated with magnets, and that's wonderful. But how long will it be? Just asking. Now, do you think I'm paranoid? Do you think that I'm, overreacting? Or do you see a potential for this to be something really, really awful? Yeah. Anyway. Now, let's take a look at this. Moving on. Oh, this is very interesting. And let's look at this. Government moves to seize Nexium headquarters and other real estate and whatever the Vanguard may own. And well, they should. I don't know if you've been following all of this, the Nexium stuff and the testimony in court. I think it's wrapping up tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I am glad that the government is moving to seize their properties and their headquarters and whatever else they own. And they need to take a look up here in Canada, too, because there is a place near me that is connected. Yeah, sure wish I could get that into the right hands. So anyway, One thing you have to acknowledge about the U.S. criminal justice system is that once it decides to go after someone, it can completely and utterly destroy them. First comes the overcharging of offenses, which can turn just about any minor crime into a potential 20-year sentence. This usually involves the addition of related crimes like conspiracy to and the all-time favorites of federal prosecutors, bank fraud, mail fraud, and wire fraud. The overcharging leads to plea deal offers that, given the alternative, many defendants accept regardless of their guilt or innocence. I wonder, this sounds like it's written biased towards the other side. Anyway, 3 years in a minimum security prison is a lot more doable than 20 years in a maximum security facility. Next comes the pretrial incarceration of the defendant, which usually cuts off all sources of their income and makes it difficult, if not impossible, for the person and their attorney to put together a decent defense. This is especially effective where the defendant has a family, and even better when there are young children involved. Then we have the tried and true pretrial delaying tactics, unnecessary motions, delays in turning over evidence, superseding indictments. These pretty much ensure that by the time a trial gets started, the defendant has been at least somewhat demoralized, if not totally traumatized, by the time spent in prison. Usually I rail at these tactics as being abusive and unfair. And then comes along a case like Keith Allen Rainier, aka the Vanguard, and I think the system is just fine. The reality, of course, is that the U.S. criminal justice system has become totally out of balance in favor of the prosecution. Few defendants in criminal matters actually go to trial. According to a 2012 New York Times article, 97% of federal criminal cases and 94% of state criminal cases end up with a plea bargain. The current case of the U.S. versus Rainier et al. Pretty much reflects how the U.S. criminal justice system works. 5 of the 6 co-defendants pleaded out rather than go to trial, and those people had a $14.3 million defense fund at their disposal. Excuse me. And now comes the fun part. Yes, because I'm about to take a drink. Just a second. I know Diet Coke is terrible for me. I really am. I've cut down significantly. But I know I need to give it up. As the government is bringing its case to a close and anticipating a guilty verdict for the Vanguard, it has unleashed another of its weapons, criminal asset forfeiture. According to filings that were made yesterday, here are some of the assets that the government plans to seize in conjunction with the case. 1. The real property located at 8 Hale Drive, Half Moon, New York, 12065, together with its respective buildings, appurtenances, improvements. I don't know if I've ever seen that word before, to tell you the truth. Fixtures, attachments, easements, and furnishings, $15,670.00 in United States currency, seized on or about March 27th, 2018, from 3 Oregon Trail, Waterford, New York, 12188. $390,180.00 in United States currency, seized on or about March 27th, 2018, from 3 Oregon Trail, Waterford, New York, 12188. $109,727.00 in United States currency, seized on or about March 27th, 2018, from the same address. The real property located at 7 Generals Way, Clifton Park, New York, 12065, together with its respective buildings, that's a hard word to say, appurtenances, improvements, fixtures, attachments, easements, furnishings, and all proceeds traceable thereto. The real property located at 455 New Carter Road, Albany, New York, 12205, together with its respective blah, 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 blah. The real property located at 457 New Carter Road, Albany, New York, 12205, and everything, all the stuff. Real property located at 449 New Carter Road, Albany, New York, 12205, and that's 449. The other one was 457, and all of its stuff. And yeah, they have some pretty nice buildings. Keith Rainier maintained a private townhouse at 8 Hale Drive for mentoring female students. The townhouse, which is referred to as the library, has a commodious hot tub, which is said to relax the female students who Rainier consents to teach. Yeah, that's what my professors always did. They gave me like a nice soak in the hot tub before they taught me my lesson. I'm just saying, it's weird. The new Connor Road properties were used by Nexium for its various business operations. 8 Hale Drive was Rainier's sex lair, and the 7 Generals Way property has been previously described as a townhouse that was purchased by Allison Mack. Lauren Salzman and Allison Mack have already agreed to the government seizures of all those assets. It is expected that similar agreements will soon be forthcoming from Nancy Salzman, Claire Bronfman, and Kathy Russell. After all, who wants to go to their sentencing hearing while they're fighting over these assets with the government? No one. And as for the Vanguard, the self-proclaimed renunciate who claimed not to own anything or have any assets, looked like he's going to turn out to be correct on that claim. Yesterday, the prosecution also filed another motion to have Judge Nicholas Garefis be the one to determine the amount of the forfeiture money judgment that will be imposed on Rainier if he's convicted on any of the 7 counts he's currently facing. At a minimum, the government will seek to have Rainier stripped of any rights he may have in the above listed assets. Well, I think that they should not just strip him of his rights, but strip him of his clothes and brand him on the hinder parts. That's what I think should happen to him. Oh, and jail. Yeah. And it's possible that the government will seek to claim any other assets that, despite his claim of being renunciate, Rainier has accumulated over the years. That could include anything he may have bequeathed, been bequeathed by Pam Kafritz and Barbara Jusk. All of the seized real estate assets will be sold at auction by the U.S. government. The proceeds from those sales, plus all the seized cash, will be retained by the government. Maybe they could put that towards building the wall or stopping sex trafficking, which I know they're working hard on and have made significant inroads, but yeah, just saying. All right, now, wait, there's more. Maybe not about that, but there's more. There's always more. Okay, now, this is really, really interesting. Remember, the role-playing games that they used to have, like Dungeons and Dragons and all those role-playing games they used to have? Well, in 1988, this was written, what I'm about to read you was written in 1988, and it's the rule book for the tabletop role-playing game Cyberpunk 2020. And then this person, Omni Spleesh, says that's some prophetic shite right there. And it is. Once you read this, this is one of those things that make you go, all this has been planned. All of it. All right. Diversity and unity. It is now accepted among historical scholars that in the decades before the collapse, America suffered from the sickness of racism and cultural identity. Everyone wanted to be seen as special. Every group had to be equal or preferably better than its neighbors and fought to protect its special rights. If anyone had something that someone else wanted, they were painted as racist, sexist, elitist, or worse. This divisive me-first attitude eventually tore the fabric of American culture apart and caused it to self-destruct in a fireball of competing ideologies, none of which truly recognized each other's validity. Diversity led inexorably to anarchy. Now, this was written in 1988. 1988. Yeah. What do you think of that? Yep, it's for the tabletop role-playing game Cyberpunk 2020. Now, I've never heard of that, but I was never into role-playing games. Have any of you heard of this? I'd be interested to know. How popular was this? Probably if you're into that genre of games, then, you might know about this. But those of us that have never been into role-playing games, it's all news to us, but I do think it's very interesting, much like the Illuminati card game. Now, if you've never heard of the Illuminati card game, you would do yourself a service to find out about it, because it's highly prophetic. I'm not sure what year this card game came out, but many of the cards foretold events that have already happened, and it was written far, far in advance of any of those events. It foretold the attack on the Pentagon, 9/11, all sorts of stuff. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's almost endless, and it's hard to actually. I tried actually to get a copy of the game because I wanted the cards. I wanted to make really good copies of them. So because the ones that are out there, most of them are really poor copies of them, but it's very hard to find, and when you do find it, people charge an inexorable amount of money for it, because it is so popular among conspiracy theorists, because many of those cards have already come to pass. And there's a card in there that looks like Donald Trump, oddly enough, and it says on it, enough is enough. So yeah, if you've never heard of these cards, then it would be great. You can probably do a search on YouTube and find all sorts of videos, unless they've taken them down. Hopefully they haven't, but I don't know. I haven't looked recently. All right. Now, here's something else weird that's going on. We have the power outage in South America, and then we have this, which is odd to me, happening now. This from Breaking 9/11. At least 3 manhole covers have been displaced with smoke emanating from below in downtown Los Angeles. Firefighters responding to reported explosions, incident under investigation. So I don't know if any of you are listening in the Los Angeles area, which I probably don't have many listeners in the Los Angeles area, because I know that most of Los Angeles is Democrat, but there may be a few in and around the area. If you happen to know anything about that, please put in the comments below, because as I said, this was happening just before I left to go for supper, and I have not checked up on it. So if there's news about this forthcoming, I will make sure to bring that to you guys at the very latest tomorrow. So, but if any of you happen to know, then please, by all means, enlighten us all in the comments below, because I know a lot of us comb through those results, or through the comments rather. All right, now let's look at this. I can't remember what this is, to tell you the truth, but let's hope it's something good. Oh no, we're not gonna do that, because it's long. It's 7 minutes long, and that's a little bit. We've kind of gone over all of that stuff. Reasons why we should be concerned about this, and reasons why we should be taking precautions. Personally, I would not be traveling on an airplane right now. Now, I would if I was going to say if I was just going out west or something, but actually no, because you don't know. There's people that, all these people from Bongo have had contact with other people who have contact with other people who have contacted with other people. And because the incubation period is so long, we don't know who has it and who doesn't. So to tell you the truth, like, I've been hand sanitizing, and especially learning that they're here. So I've been hand sanitizing, and just, be careful. When you're touching carts and everything, and you're going into grocery store and you're touching the buggies and stuff, like, sanitize your hands. Don't be putting your hands near your face either. Like shaking somebody's hand and then putting them around your face, because that is one of the best paths through your eyes and your nose and your mouth. It's the best path for germs. So anyway, I know maybe I sound a little paranoid, but we know that they've planned this for a long time. We can go back and read literature from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago and see that they've been planning for all these coming plagues, and they are coming, and they're here. They are here. We may not be hearing about it, but there's a reason for that. That's why we need people that will do a video, whatever. If they see something in their area, make sure it gets out there. Get it out on Twitter. Get it out however you can, because you're not going to hear it from the real news. Yeah, well, there is no real news anymore. From the mainstream, you're not going to hear it. Or they'll call it measles, or they'll call it dengue, or they'll call it something else, but they're not going to call it what it is. So let's move on, shall we? All right, now let's go to this now. Yeah, this is interesting right here. Argentinian president claims former Obama official asked the country to provide Iran with nuclear fuel. Huh. How do you like that? It felt like hours, but it was only a mere 45 seconds in perhaps the most moving moment of this week's United Nations General Assembly, UNGA meeting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stared down the audience in a moment of silence that made all those there and the rest of us watching on television feel the weight of his message. The Iran deal makes war more likely. And this was from 2015, so this is old, but I went back to it because I think it's interesting, considering. So, Netanyahu continued, "I refuse to be silent. The days when the Jewish people remain passive in the face of genocidal enemies, those days are over. Israel has always reserved the right to defend itself against its enemies, a point Netanyahu hammered home this week. Indeed, the nuclear agreement with Iran has been a hot topic in U.S. politics, featuring prominently in the presidential campaign and across Congress. We now know that despite the fact that only 21% of Americans approved the deal, the White House and Democrats have a bulletproof plan securing its passage." So, when Donald Trump said that this was a bad deal, it was a bad deal, right? He wasn't making this stuff up. The rest of the world saw it. It's just the Democrats, they didn't see it. They didn't care. But it appears that we don't know the whole story. There was a speech at the UNGA that directly relates to the deal and our methods of negotiation with Iran that was overlooked for reasons that escape me. Well, we know why. During a 45-minute speech, Argentine President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner claimed that in 2010, a former Obama administration official asked Argentina to provide the Islamic region of Iran with nuclear fuel under the control of the International Atomic Energy Agency. According to Kirchner, Gary Simone, who was the White House coordinator for arms control and weapons of mass destruction at the time, visited Argentina in the hopes of convincing them to provide reactor fuel. When the Argentine Minister of Foreign Affairs asked for the request in writing, they never heard from Simone again. Well, isn't that interesting? Very interesting. There is a backstory to this. As Kirchner explained, in 1987, Argentina supplied Iran with nuclear fuel for their Tehran reactor. Simone told Hector Timerman, the Argentine foreign minister, that negotiations with Iran to end or limit its nuclear enrichment program had begun, that the Tehran reactor was a sticking point. Iranian negotiators wouldn't go forward without the fuel, and Argentina was the United States' answer. Another key juncture in this triangle between Iran, Argentina, and the United States is the story of Argentinian Special Prosecutor Alberto Nisman, his investigation of the 1994 bombing of a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires, and his mysterious death in early 2015. Was Hillary around? Just hours before Nisman was sent to present evidence implicating President Kirchner in a conspiracy to cover up Iran's role in the 1994 bombing, the prosecutor was found dead. Kirchner and her associates insist Nisman's death was a suicide, but officials have indicated that Nisman was actually assassinated in his apartment, execution style. Interesting. Adding to the mystery, investigators found that someone logged into Nisman's computer in the hours after his murder, but before his mother discovered his body the following morning. The narrative is, of course, puzzling and worrisome on a number of levels. The mystery surrounding Nisman's investigation and murder seems to indicate more tangible connections between Tehran and Buenos Aires than President Kirchner would like to admit. Additionally, the implied conspiracy allows us to draw revealing conclusions on more dilemmas associated with Argentina's involvement with Iran's nuclear ambition and the United States' potential tacit approval. Get down. Oh, here comes the tail in front of the camera. Here it comes. There it goes. Yep. They don't want to see your tail. Okay, well, now it's... Come on. Sammy, come on. I can only imagine what that looked like. It was probably like a dark out, you know. Yeah, well, Sammy looks pleased with himself now. And I'm sure he is. I think he knows. And now everything's shaking because he's like shaking the table. Okay, back to the news. So, oh, Sammy, no. Oh, gosh. Come on. I don't even have my water bottle to throw at him. Hey, get down. Get down. There you go. Okay. All right. The catastrophe is over. Catastrophe. Okay. Throughout the arduous Iranian negotiations, the American public has heard nothing of the backdoor deal between Iran and Argentina, bartered by the United States. In 2010, there was no public talk of Iranian nuclear negotiations in U.S. media. This makes it all the more troubling that American negotiators and President Obama involved a secondary non-nuclear power from a continent that has long sought to keep itself free of nuclear weapons or controversy. Well, it is troubling, isn't it? But then everything about the Obama presidency is troubling. Additionally, this potential bilateral deal between Argentina and Iran occurred during Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's presidency in Iran, well before current President Hassan Rouhani became to power. During this time, the Iranian leadership showed unbridled aggression toward the U.S. and Israel in terms of existential threats. The rhetoric put forward by the Iranian government then was far worse than that which we observe now. Simone's seemingly rogue dealings and more generally the Obama administration's 2011 entrance into negotiations were not well known until a recent report from the Middle East Media Research Institute. According to the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, Obama first reached out in 2011 through the Oman's leader Sultan Qaboos. The Iranian interpretation of Obama's proposal is as follows. The Americans want to solve the nuclear issue and lift sanctions within 6 months while recognizing Iran as a nuclear power. He's a piece of work, Obama is. What's more, according to the MEMRI report, John Kerry, yes, John Kerry, was already involved as an Obama ally, even with Hillary Clinton still in office as Secretary of State. See how this is written in 2015, but oh, so pertinent for today. Then Senator Kerry apparently sent a letter to the Iranian regime stating that America recognizes Iran's right regarding the enrichment cycle. Yes, I think we should enrich him. We should enrich him right into jail. The MEMRI report outlines how Iranian officials have revealed that the Obama administration initiated secret negotiations well before the American public heard anything about it. These 2011 talks put the United States directly across the table from Iranian hardliners led by Ahmadinejad. These men were by no means the more reasonable pragmatists in President Rouhani's cabinet, especially Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif and his colleagues, who the Obama administration had lauded for their receptiveness to Western negotiators. The American public had every right to know Obama's intentions in Iran in order to make an educated voting decision in 2012 and, further, to more completely understand the deal we have today. Well, we no longer have it. This is not to condemn the president. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And he's not the president anymore. We don't, yes, he absolutely should be condemned for taking leadership on a critical issue. But Obama's ambitions clearly put the United States at a tremendous strategic risk. on a significant issue requiring years of transparency and consistency in American leadership. If Obama would have subsequently been unable to continue negotiations as an outgoing president, American diplomacy would have been severely weakened. This lack of transparency is not only disturbing, but very well may threaten the integrity of our latest deal with Iran, and it did. For the sake of American leadership, the safety of our Israeli allies, and regional stability, I surely hope our next presidential administration provides the public with more information that can help us to understand the circumstances of our nuclear agreement and major foreign policy decisions generally. Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Well, I don't know, but interesting how Obama never had American interests at heart, ever, and did absolutely everything in his power to weaken the country, both internally and in the eyes of the country, the rest of the world, rather. He did it both internally and in the eyes of the rest of the world. He weakened America. And thank goodness we have a president now that has strengthened the military and is working to strengthen the country. All right, let's go back now because we have lots of stuff to get to and time is a ticking here. I love this meme, a rancher's view of the Mueller report. While we recognize that the subject did not actually steal any horses, he is obviously guilty of trying to resist being hanged for it. Isn't that so true? I love that meme. That is probably one of the best memes I have seen because it really gets to the heart of the issue, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, Trump didn't steal any horses. No, didn't steal any horses, but he's resisting being hung for it. Yeah, that's the issue. It is. Okay. Now, this is a little piece of good news that I think you'll like. If I know you guys, then I think that, I kind of gauge what you're interested in and what you're not. Hopefully, I get it somewhat right. Look at this. No, really, looky here. Supreme Court rules Muslims can't use the Quran for swearing into federal office. Yeah, there is no place for Islam in the United States of America. So, so says this article. I happen to agree. Well, it's not that. I fully support someone's right to practice whatever religion they wish. Now, I am a Christian, and because I want to have the freedom to practice that, I also have to grant that freedom to others, even if I don't agree with the choices that they've made. So it's not that I'm against people. Well, really, I would like if everyone followed the Lord, but I understand that we all have free will. But my problem is with a religion that wants to cut my head off because I'm not of that religion. That I have a problem with. I also have a problem with a religion, which it's really not a religion, it's an ideology, but I have a problem with the fact that they want to, that the males feel that it's their right to rape me because I'm not Islamic. I have a problem with that too. And I'd like to keep my head, thank you very much. And so, yeah, I have a problem with that. So, hey, call me nuts, but it's an issue. In a huge victory for Christians everywhere, the Quran has been deemed an invalid and potentially illegal use of religious manuscript. Although Jesus taught his disciples to avoid making judgments of others with different faiths, he didn't know that that's actually not correct, but he didn't know that these Islamic worshippers were going to be burning people alive. Well, I think he did because he's God. Yeah, I'm just saying. So the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled 5-4 against using the Quran for anything other than scrap paper. The tiebreaker was none other than Brett Kavanaugh, who struck down the use of the Quran like a lib at a Trump rally. Yeah, that's our Kavanaugh. Yeah. I don't know what these Democrats are thinking, but I can tell you this. We are a nation of Christians and we're done tolerating other religions. Well, now, this seems a little bit... Now, is this actually... you know what? This is not right. I should have checked this out further. As soon as I started writing that, I thought, you know what? That's not right. It's a fake story. It's fake. I just... Parody through mockery. You know what? There's more and more and more of these popping up. And sometimes it takes... Like, I'll think, yeah, this is great. But then I'll start reading it and I'll go, this isn't, yeah. So I was taken and I apologize. I apologize. I still don't think it should be used for swearing in because the Quran teaches that it's okay to lie to infidels. So they're swearing to uphold the truth on a text that tells them it's okay to lie. I have a problem with that. I'm just saying. So... there you go. But unfortunately, I would like that. It's not that I believe that we must make everyone Christian, because that's not the gospel. That's not what Jesus did. He said if they don't receive, you just shake the dust off your feet and you move on. So yeah, but anyway. All right, well, I apologize sincerely. Forgive me. So sorry. No, really, I am. Okay. Now this, I know is true. U.S. takes first step to demand payback from sponsors of immigrants who use welfare. Now, this was from yesterday, and it was actually updated today. So... no, actually, yeah. So the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service has begun to remind immigrants that if they receive any welfare benefits prior to becoming a citizen, their sponsors will be responsible for repaying the government. If the sponsored immigrant receives any federal means-tested public benefits, the sponsor will be expected to reimburse the benefits granting agency for every dollar of benefits received by the immigrant, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service wrote on Twitter on June 14th. Immigrants who apply for permanent residency and citizenship in the United States are required to find a sponsor who guarantees to support them financially. The affidavit of support is a legally enforceable contract between the sponsor and the government. The financial obligation usually ends once the immigrant becomes naturalized or after the immigrant completes 10 years of full-time work. The USCIS is taking the step in response to a presidential memorandum signed by President Donald Trump in May. The order directs federal agencies to update their regulations to comply with a federal law that prohibits non-citizens from receiving public benefits. Now that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me because, you know, now I think if you've been there legally, if you've been working for over 10 years in the country and you're suddenly unemployed through no fault of your own, you know, I think that should be a little different perhaps, especially if that person is seeking citizenship. But I'm talking about people that are just coming in over the border and getting welfare immediately, and they're benefiting from taxpayer money, and really that money needs to go to deserving Americans, homeless, veterans. And I don't think we should be spending all this money housing illegals when we don't even look at the homeless situation in California. It's out of control. And in many other areas of the country. I know I was speaking to a friend in Georgia, and he lives in Savannah. I've known him my whole, he was the very first American that I met, actually, when I moved to the States. And we have always kept in touch and been friends. And he lets me know about what's happening there. He lives in Savannah. And he's saying, you know, now there are just huge areas of tents. And I never saw that. I mean, I've lived in major U.S. cities and I never experienced that. You would experience some homelessness and people sleeping under bridges and so forth, but not huge, you know, tents and massive homeless encampments. Why isn't that money going to help these people? Not all of them are alcoholic and drug addicts and whatever. Some of them have lost their homes, they've lost their jobs, what have you. They're down on their luck. And I do believe that they deserve that over an illegal. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, let's leave the rest of that. I don't think we need to go over that, the nitty-gritty of all that. I just think it's important that we know that steps are being taken in that direction, just like Trump told us they would be. So that's good news as far as I'm concerned. All right, now let's see what other trouble we can get into. I know that there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm trying to be a little picky so that I can get to the stuff that I need to get to. Let me see. Oh, yes. Let's look at this. No, really, let's. Vermont to allow taxpayer funded transgender sex reassignment surgeries for children. Now, personally, okay, I may not agree with this, but if, a boy or girl is of legal age and that's what they want to do, then their decision. But for a parent to allow a child when their emotions are not mature yet, I don't get that. I do not get that. I think it is abuse. Children and teens in Vermont who claim to be transgender could soon be able to have taxpayer-funded sex reassignment surgeries without having to wait until they are 21. A new rule proposed at the end of May will allow children and teens covered by Medicaid and who have parental consent to begin sex reassignment surgeries at younger ages, said Nissa James, Department of Vermont Health Access Policy Director, reported the Burlington Free Press. Now, let's come down here. No, really, let's. The sex reassignment surgeries covered by Medicaid include 16 types of genital surgery, as well as breast augmentation or mastectomy. According to the report, Dr. Rachel Inker, who heads the transgender health clinic at the Community Health Centers of Burlington, welcomed the new rule. Having young people have to wait until they're 21 just doesn't make any sense, Inker said. The Free Press continued, the choice to have surgery is a personal one that should be explored in every age group. Inker said, although people who are young enough can be given puberty-blocking treatments to inhibit development of secondary sex characteristics like breasts or facial hair, older teens may have already developed those characteristics, Inker said, and face going to college or getting a job while their gender identity and gender presentation are mismatched. Hang on here. She cited young transgender men wishing to get top surgery to remove breast tissue as an example of the kind of procedures commonly requested by teenagers between 16 and 18. Well, now, I think by the time they're probably 17 or 18, they can probably make these decisions. But I mean, personally, well, you know how I feel about it. But, when you're talking about young children, I think it's ludicrous. I think it's absolutely insane and abusive. And, I would feel, you know how I feel. Okay, so a coalition of parent skeptics who question medicalizing gender atypical youth tweeted about the new Vermont rule. The choice to have surgery is a personal one that should be explored in every age group, Inker said, although people who are young enough can have puberty-blocking treatments to inhibit development, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then, so it's within the realm of possibility that one of the toddlers identified as trans by woke parents and their doctors could be a candidate for genital surgery. Why not? If they're true trans, what would be the reason to wait? Cue the next specialty, preschool SRS surgeons. It would do away with tucking and taping for toddler trans girls and silicone penises for toddler trans boys. This isn't sarcasm. If parents are doing things like, whoops, first day with the new hands. Telling you. if parents are doing things like this in this thread, why wouldn't they welcome SRS? That's sexual surgery, to take care of it once and for all. Thread, we've been sent another batch of screen grabs from the online parent support group we tweeted about recently vis-a-vis fake penises for children. The new batch of posts pertain to undergarments and other strategies parents use to conceal their children's male genitalia. The genius child psychologists and pediatricians who egg parents on to affirm their trans thoughts are why Vermont is making SRS legal and acceptable for any age child at taxpayer expense. The hubris of U.S. gender specialists is what is driving this. So anyway, in order to receive the Medicaid coverage for sex reassignment surgeries, requirements include a clinical evaluation stating the surgery is a medical necessity and a referral from a qualified mental health professional. Anyway. All right, so I'm not going to go and read the rest of that. I think you get the drift. Let's go see. I know there's more here, but some of it I'm going to leave for another day. And some of it is just not. Now, I'm sure, because this is kind of old news now, that there has been an arrest made in the Arkansas senator's murder. And it would be interesting. I'd like to keep following that and see how that turns out and see what her connection is to the senator and why, which I don't believe has been stated yet. I don't believe that there's been a motive given, but I do believe that it wouldn't surprise me that it has to do with the fact that she was getting ready to, she was doing this investigation into child services and so forth. All right, so, and let me see what else here. I don't want to miss anything. Now, we had covered this, gosh, a long time ago. An Anon had found this, but I did want to, because this has come out again. This by brassballs.blog. News others miss. DNC checks written for $212,496 to CrowdStrike connect murders of Seth Rich and Sean Lucas. And, it seems to me that maybe a year ago this came out. I think an Anon had found this information that, right after Seth Rich was killed, there was a check given by the DNC to CrowdStrike, and then right after Sean Lucas was killed, there was a big check written by the DNC to CrowdStrike. Very, very peculiar and suspicious. Seth Rich was killed on July 10th, 2016. The next day, CrowdStrike, an FBI contractor and IT company, received a check for $98,849.84 from the Democratic National Committee. Rich worked for the DNC. It is unknown whether Rich leaked his employees' emails. He did. He leaked them to Assange. Sean Lucas was killed on August 2nd, 2016. The next day, CrowdStrike received a check for $113,645.77 from the DNC. Lucas delivered a lawsuit to DNC headquarters for a local court. The suit alleged the Democratic Party committed fraud by rigging their primary election in favor of Hillary Clinton. Well, they did. The sources of the check is the Federal Election Commission. And this is the, what do you call that? A little snapshot of the ledger there. CrowdStrike is an FBI private contractor with unrestricted legal access to top secret information, according to Judge Rosemary Collier. She heads the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISC, better known as FISA. CrowdStrike's computer software customers include Congress, the White House, the State Department, Democratic National Committee, the White House, the State Department, Sony, and Google. Gee, what a coincidence, huh? What a coincidence. The 212,496 was spent on a self-extracting thumb drive, according to George Webb. This thumb drive can automatically extract data from the DNC server, which includes emails and money. Webb said today that this is how the hack of the DNC was done, and the person doing the hacking was Imran Awan. Webb's daily video series on YouTube has run 2 years. Webb and his researchers have uncovered details of the takedown of President Donald J. Trump. Well, he wasn't taken down. They tried to take him down, though, didn't they? Attorney General William Barr confirmed yesterday to Congress that spying did occur on the Trump campaign. Webb's team was the first to say so, and that's true. So there you go. Very interesting, very suspicious. And I am hoping that all of this, all the murders, everything comes out. It is time. It is past time. All right, let's make sure I haven't missed anything. Let me see here. What is this? It's about Keith Raniere. I don't remember what this is. Oh, yes. What did NXIVM want in Mexico? The alleged sex cult infiltrated the country's political elite. Yeah. During the first few days of the trial of Keith Raniere, the man accused of leading a sex cult in the guise of Randian self-help group, the prosecution presented a remarkable chart. It shows Raniere's inner circle was photographs of the 25 men and women who co-founded, worked for, or otherwise cooperated in NXIVM, Raniere's company, and ESP, Executive Success Programs, the personal development courses that have ensnared at least 16,000 people over the last 20 years. The faces around Raniere included actress Allison Mack, Seagram heiress Claire Bronfman, co-founder Nancy Salzman, and her daughter Lauren, all of whom have pled guilty to different charges as part of the process against Raniere. Coverage of the evidence has mostly focused on Mack or Bronfman, prominent figures who tarnished their reputations to protect a dreadful man. For me, though, the diagram offers a different, more chilling piece of information. Almost half of Raniere's closest associates were Mexican. The list includes Emiliano Salinas, son of former President Carlos Salinas, and Rosa Laura Junco, whose family owns one of Mexico's most influential newspaper groups. The prosecution then provided another chart. The pictures of 8 women around Raniere, all members of the Dominus Obsequiosus Sororium, DOS, an alleged sex ring masquerading as a sorority in which women were enslaved and branded with Raniere's initials. 5 of the 8 women were Mexican. Interesting. One would think that given the number and nature of Raniere's Mexican associates, the story would have caught fire in Mexico. In fact, the opposite happened. Raniere's deep Mexican connections have been conspicuously underreported by the country's press. I wonder why. Different media outlets offered Salinas, an eloquent speaker whose father served as president from 1988 to 1994, softball interviews, and numerous other opportunities to distance himself from Raniere, a man he had defended vehemently in the past, calling him heroic. Salinas and his business partner Alejandro Batancourt eventually announced they would sever ties with ESP, the self-help program that they helped create, promoted, and managed in Mexico for over 15 years. Salinas then claimed he was unaware of the existence of the alleged sex ring, with 2 noteworthy exceptions. Almost no one in the Mexican press has dared to really probe his claim. The investigative website, I can't pronounce that, published 5 recordings in which Salinas fully acknowledged and justified the existence of the secret branding group, while the news site Univision Noticias, for which I work, ran a series of pieces on Raniere written by journalist Gerardo Reyes. Other than that, the silence from Mexico has been deafening. It's unfortunate. Raniere's involvement in Mexico was unlike anything he attempted throughout his career as a self-anointed cult leader. In Mexico, Raniere founded a cult leaders trifecta: access to country's political elite, gullible followers with deep pockets, and a country in crisis that could offer him both influence and money. The documentary film, which Encender el Corazon, Turn on Heart, one of Renier's last projects in Mexico, offers some clues to his intentions. Directed by South African filmmaker Mark Vicente, one of Renier's associates, it is set in Mexico during the country's brutal drug war. When I interviewed him in 2017, Vicente told me the movie was originally meant to suggest a way out for the country's spiral of violence. Instead, the film became a recruiting video for Nexium. Encender El Corazon focuses on Renier, bespectacled, slightly disheveled, and mild-mannered, surrounded by adoring Mexican followers, many of them Mexicans who would later appear in the prosecution's trial charts. Renier indeed offers a solution of sorts for Mexico's troubles. Follow his teachings to the letter. In his messianic scheme, the country would become an experiment. So, yeah, this is very interesting. I don't want to read all of this because it's long, but it's very interesting how he did the same. He was trying to get into the political fabric of America as well, and was making inroads, because we know that Schumer and Hillary Clinton was connected. There's connections there. So interesting, very interesting. So let's just read the last paragraph here. Renier never got to put his nation-building model from Mexico to the test. In October 2017, the New York Times broke the shocking story that would eventually lead to his capture and trial. One of Renier's close associates, a woman named Sarah Edmondson, had fled the group after being branded with a cauterizing device as part of DOS. A few months later, in March 2018, Mexican authorities arrested Renier in Puerto Vallarta, along the country's Pacific coast. He would be charged with sex trafficking soon after. Mark Vicente, the film director, was one of the prosecution's first witnesses. "It's a fraud. It's a lie," Vicente said in court. "This well-intentioned veneer covers a horrible evil." And to tell you the truth, I don't even know if we've begun to delve, and hopefully it'll all come out, but I don't know. I'm thinking that this extends a lot further. I know it has tentacles up to Canada. I know that. So I'm thinking there's a lot more that needs to be discovered, but I don't know, because, you know, we're not privy to what is going on in the courtroom. I mean, we are in part on what's being reported, but there's probably much that is not said or has not been proven. So there you go. Now, I think that is going to end tonight's video, because I think we have been going for quite a while now, and I know that many of you find the longer videos very tiring and have asked me to do shorter ones, and then there's a few of you that have said, no, I like the longer ones. So I can't please everyone all the time, so maybe I'll do a mixture of short and long ones, but tonight's obviously been a long one. Now, I'm not going to be doing any other videos tonight, but I will be back tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to the new Patreon subscribers, the few Patreon subscribers that I've picked up over the last month. And thank you to those that buy me a coffee every now and then. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your comments, and especially your condolences over the death of my 21-year-old cat, who I'm still grieving over, and especially at night, because she seemed to be just a wonderful companion animal. And Sammy's not quite so cuddly yet, so, but he'll get there maybe, and maybe not. He's his own cat, that one. But anyway, I wish you all a good night. Sleep well, stay safe, and please stay aware, because I do believe that we are coming into a time where false flags are going to become imminent. Are imminent. I do believe that. I really do, because the deep state is not going to go down easily, as we've seen. They're not, you know, they're like rabid animals, captured, not captured yet, but in a corner, and they're gonna bite whatever's closest to them. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your kind comments and everything. And you have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow. And keep seeking the truth. And you know why? No, really, do you know why? That's right, it bites. That's right. Good night.